How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Pretty all right.
Good. Are you guys blowing away like I am down here in Ventura?
Yeah, it's really windy. And it sucked while I was running in the morning.
Huh. That's actually a good segue for what I want to talk about today. It definitely is windy. We actually had a gust right above City Hall. It was blowing this morning, 45 consistent, and had a gust measured at 71 in Ventura. So it's pretty gnarly. I was gonna run a route this morning that takes me up to the top of the Ventura Hills, and thought better of it. And then I later heard that they closed the canyon anyways, because I'm gonna blown right off the mountain. But anyways, who has heard the phrase? I guess what I want to talk about before I just jump right into it is some kind of things to think about moving forward in the semester and hopefully season, so that we can be more successful. And I think looking back on 2020, especially early on, from March, the end of the track season, and then starting up in the fall, kind of not knowing what's happening, hoping we have a cross country season, and then being told that we didn't. There was all these unknowns, both with the virus, what we could and couldn't do, what sort of stuff was risky, et cetera, et cetera. There were all these unknowns. And so it was kind of scary, but it was also, the unknown, oftentimes fear is driven by what we don't know. And at least for me, I find that because, here we are again, we sort of know that doing stuff outdoors, for instance, is really pretty darn safe. It's very, very difficult to catch this thing outdoors unless you're right on top of someone. And while we still don't know exactly what's happening for spring, we know what we can get done, and that's get better. So who has heard the term or the concept that you have the power to write your own story? Someone want to tell me what that means to you?
I guess kind of like you make your own choices, and a lot of times like your choices really can impact your life. So it's like you're kind of in control of your life. There's always stuff that you can't control, obviously, like the virus, but there's always at least something or a lot of things that you can control in your life, and you can kind of decide how you want to maneuver with each thing for your own benefit and like what you want to do with it.
Good. Anybody care to add to that?
I pretty much have the same idea. So
Yeah, the one thing I'll add to that, because you kind of focused on, worrying about what you can control, at the same time, not worrying about what you can't control is also a big part of writing your own story. And I've found that lots of things that tend to scare people or stress people out, or quite frankly, play the victim in terms of how you're writing your story, is worrying about things that are not in your control. And it's there's the obvious things that come with our sport, like weather, for instance. You can step out the door and, oh my God, it's windy, and turn around, walk back in and not run because it's windy. Or show up at a meet and it's 100 degrees and go, oh my God, I can't run in the heat. And you might as well just get back on the bus and go home, et cetera, instead of worrying about what's actually in your control. So it's windy. I'm not going to run as fast today. I may change my workout plan. I may want to keep my gaiter or my mask on all the time because it's super dusty. I may want to wear glasses to try to keep dust out of my eyes. There's things that you can do to prepare to make the most of what is actually out of your control. So the first concept or idea that I want to encourage you to try to embrace in 2021 is to stop playing the victim. And we're not in that same realm of the unknown that we were in 2020. There certainly still are unknowns, such as we don't know yet what's going to happen for track. As of right now, yes, it's on. But we also have a lot more knowledge than we did. We know a lot about the virus. We know about what it'll be like and feel like if there is no track season. We know that there's things we can do that are about our sport that we can embrace rather than going to meets and competing against other schools, et cetera, et cetera. So I encourage us to try to write our story from a position of power, from a position of experience, from a position of ambition, instead of from that position of, oh, woe is me. I don't get to have a season, or life isn't normal. Because that's what's motivating lots of people. And you can see it all around in the country and the way people are behaving around this whole situation as well. So who's on board with that? Hopefully all of you. So keep that in mind, that idea of being able to write your own story. Focus on what you can control. Don't worry about what you can't. So let's take that kind of a step further, and let's do a quick little brainstorm session. What does it take to run a successful race? And I want you to think about this in two ways: skills and attributes of a successful racer or a successful athlete. It could be, what are the skills that allow us to run a great race, win a race, whatever it might be, and what are the attributes, and what's the difference? Let's start with that. What's the difference between attributes and skills?
I guess it could be like the ability to like do certain things, like be able to maintain your own pace, and then like versus like physical characteristics, or even just like your mentality, like keeping like a good mental throughout the whole race.
Yeah, so both of those have a little bit of both. So maintain your own pace. There's definitely a skill to that and learning that. So, repetitions, workouts, comparing your time versus the effort, the sensation of movement, things like that. You get better at running a particular pace and being able to judge that. So that's a skill. And there's no doubt that there's some people that are just sort of naturally better at it than others. They have that kind of innate speedometer, so to speak, where they can do that really, really well. We do a workout sometimes that's a mile, 1200, 800, 400. And the idea is to run the mile at 5K pace, the 1200 at 3K pace, the 800 at 1500 pace, and the 400 at 800 pace. And when we do this workout, you're not allowed to wear a watch. And the idea is to come as close as possible. I had a runner, he was runner-up in SoCal on the 5K a few years back, Steven Strafford. And Steven literally ran to the second, his splits. And we did the workout twice and he did it both times. He had an amazing innate sense for knowing his pace and being able to hit those marks. I haven't had very many people that were that good at it. But I've had people that were terrible at it and got better as well. So it's both. And then the same thing with mentality. That is also an attribute, and that some people are particularly good at. It's one of the things that Steve Prefontaine was really known for, as being really, really tough. And there's some people that are, mental midgets. But it's also a skill. I do a lot of workouts with the intention to try to make you mentally tougher. And I just did a little bit of a workout yesterday, 2 by mile with a mile in between, and I was definitely a mental midget. I haven't been doing much of anything quality, and I wasn't going all that hard, and mentally it was really difficult. But it's something that if you do it more, you'll get better. So skills tend to lend themselves a little bit more towards physical. They're things that you can develop. Attributes tend to be more kind of mental, emotional, maybe like personality traits almost. So what are skills and attributes that help one run a successful race?
I think for an attribute could be like confidence. You got to be like confident in yourself, and just like in your training, and you can't be like too scared, I guess.
Good.
Yeah, to add to Peter's, it's like having a cool head, like during a race or even during a workout.
About calm under pressure?
Yeah.
Good.
Could developing stronger legs be considered a skill?
Strength, yeah, that would probably be a skill. Certainly, some people, that's a physical trait that some people have a little bit more naturally also than others, but it can absolutely be developed.
Be disciplined in the training that leads up to the race.
Yeah. Good.
A skill could be like knowing, I guess not knowing, but like no, I guess you already we're kind of talking about this with like the different paces, but kind of just like knowing what it feels like what each kind of like mile feels like, because lots of times if you run like the first mile at a certain pace and then the second mile feels a lot harder even though it's like the exact same pace. So like having the skill of like, I guess this could be also an attribute, but just like knowing, like figuring out what your body feels like with each I guess I'm trying to figure out how to word it, like under fatigue but also like under pressure, and with like, because there's a big difference between how racers feel in the first mile and how they feel in the second mile. So
For sure.
kind of just like knowing the difference with that, because I know like I've had a lot of races where I started out at a pace that I wanted and then I slowed way down, but I didn't realize it because everyone else slowed down. So
Yeah.
so like knowing when to pick it up, I guess.
Yeah, I would put that under the category of pace judgment, but you're taking it to the next level because you're absolutely right that how you pace yourself in practice versus a race with other people, with nerves, with pressure, excitement, all that stuff, it's definitely feels different. And so you need to be able to control that in such a way that you don't go out way too fast, and then you recognize when you're slowing down, etc. Yeah, good. What else? Let's focus on skills for a moment so we can kind of narrow our focus. So what are some skills that it takes to run a successful race?
Breathing.
Breathing.
Navigating turns and hills well.
Sure.
I guess that's not really for track, but well, turns for track.
I didn't specify track.
Okay.
Running form.
Form, technique, biomechanics. Yeah. Staying along that, staying relaxed versus being tense, especially the face, the shoulders, the hands. How about attributes? What sort of things define a successful racer, a champion? We've got confidence, calm under pressure, discipline. Anything else come to mind? Someone mentioned basic mental toughness. I remember pre
I think competitiveness too.
competitiveness. Absolutely. I've had some talented runners in the past who were not competitive, and it was tough to get them to really race. It goes a little bit along the lines with mental toughness too. What is going to drive you to go past that position of being willing to hurt? Some people, what drives them is competitiveness. That's what's going to allow them to hurt more. It's one reason you'll push harder in competition versus practice. Some people don't like to compete and they'll run faster in practice than they will in a race. I think that's enough to kind of move forward with this discussion. So the next thing I want you to think about, so we've got a list of skills: strength, pace, judgment, breathing, navigating hills and turns, form and technique. I'll throw in there speed and endurance. And then attributes: confidence, calm under pressure, discipline, mental toughness, being competitive. How do we develop these things in practice?
Maybe doing the same like workout routine over and over again.
That's one way. Yep, good.
Like pushing yourself more during the reps, and like I know like one thing I used to do is I used to pretend that like my teammates were in my rivals' jerseys, so that during practice I would try to catch them and want to beat them a lot. So yeah, just like being able to stay competitive.
Yeah, so you're doing two things there. You're using mental imagery as a way to train, and you're also using your teammates to push you to go harder. And even if you aren't, when I was training solo, I used to imagine competitors in front of me, even though they weren't a teammate in another, an imaginary jersey. There was just an imaginary person there that I was racing. Good. What else?
I think reminding yourself of like why you're running is a good way to like push yourself to like go the extra mile, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's answer that question. Why do you run, Alec?
Well, currently it's for track. It's for running that 800. I just want to get faster and get better.
Okay, good. Estella, why do you run?
For me, I think it just like helps me like mentally in everyday life a lot, and having a goal, having a race as a goal, it's like somewhere to look forward to, and it's just like a direction to think about, which is really nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, good. David, why do you run?
Just to get any type of like, I guess I get an adrenaline rush whenever I run, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe to go faster too, to stay in shape. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, good. Peter?
I'm pretty competitive. So I'm competitive with myself. Like I always know I can get better. And then also I love like just being part of a team. I know like I've had like whenever like a guest speaker, like a professional runner that's like a guest speaker comes to talk, they always say like cherish your moments in high school or in college, because this like even if you go professional, like this is the only time you really have like a team. Because like even if you run in groups later, like it's not ever the same. You're never like scoring to like it's always kind of individual. So and I know track's obviously different, but just like the team environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. So all of you said something that was very similar, along with some other things, but all of you basically mentioned the idea of getting better, getting faster. Most of you Peter alluded to it a little bit, but most of you didn't say much about competition at all, actually racing other people. First and foremost, it was about improving yourself. Let's keep that in mind regardless of what happens with Track 2021, because I'm not surprised that those were the answers that came out of you. Because even though a lot of us on some level like to get out and race other teams or other athletes, and we're personally driven to improve more easily in that type of situation, we don't need that situation to get better. And the way in which we get better, the way in which we compete and improve, is not by going and racing, it's by training. It's by doing things day to day. So I am going to propose that this spring, you go into each workout with one skill in mind and one attribute in mind to try to improve upon. And this should sound a little bit like something I talked about in the fall called the process goal or an action item, with just a little bit of a twist, and that now you actually have something specific. If you can focus in this way, it's going to give meaning to each day. So you're going to be a little bit more motivated to go out and do it. Because now you know, like Estella said, you have a direction. Even if that direction isn't track, and right now track is an unknown. We don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know what it's going to look like. So instead we focus on what is in our control. We write our story from a position of power, from a position of our control. And so what can we do? We can develop the skills and attributes that are going to serve us in the future, whether it's the immediate future of Track 2021, or eventually things are going to get back to normal, more than likely, no later than the fall. And we're going to have a cross country, and we're going to have a spring. And so let's take this opportunity to get better, to develop our skills, to develop our attributes, so that we can be better for ourselves, and so that we can then be better competitors. And because I think, again, on some level, we like to run, we enjoy running. If you ask me why I run, it grounds me. I've been doing this a lot longer than you guys have. I feel weird when I'm not running. The reason I hate being injured is I just don't feel like myself. I am a runner, plain and simple. I'm not driven as much by the competitiveness anymore, but there's no doubt about it, that's still a part of me. I was very competitive as an athlete, almost too much so, because I got hurt a lot because I wanted to push myself so much. I didn't have the body, the durability to back up the competitiveness I had. So a skill I had to learn, or an attribute, was kind of patience and control, sort of the same way that Peter talked about controlling pace in races. I had to learn how to do that in practice and that sort of thing. So, and again, what I can do as your coach is I can guide you, but I can't hold your hand so much, and I can't train for you. So, it's the day-to-day consistency of workouts, first and foremost, that is going to make you better. So the goal should be, starting now, because we're here, moving forward until at least the end of the semester. If we have a track season, that's going to be well beyond the semester, to get better and to try to make ourselves better in some way every single day, to make the most out of the time that we have training. And then the more consistency that we put in each day, then we can start adding specific types of things that will develop some of the other skills and attributes, such as workouts and things like that. Until we have that consistency and we have some volume under our belts, those other things are more likely to lead us to get hurt, and what we develop out of them aren't going to be nearly as effective. And that's where the consistency and the volume also come in is that those lay the foundation so that we benefit more from the workouts that we do. Okay, so the logging, again, it was an assignment in the fall. It's not going to be an assignment in the spring. I'm no longer the instructor. But if you really buy into this idea, you're going to want to keep logging, because you're going to log how you're doing each day, day in and day out, in terms of making yourself better and moving forward. And then from a coaching perspective, at least until we're meeting even meeting 2 days a week. So right now, pretty much through March, we're meeting 2 days a week, which means you're on your own quite a bit. And so the best way that I can train you is by logging. But I would encourage you to look at the log more as a tool for developing skills, for developing attributes, for becoming a better runner. And if you take it that way, you're going to want to log each day. And writing down, what was your goal going into the workout and what did you get out of it? That's the kind of thing that's going to, keep this concept going in your mind so that you're getting more out of your workouts mentally and emotionally, and then you're getting that physical release as well as the development of being a better runner each day. Sound like a plan? Any questions or comments or anything to add? Okay. Alec, just wanted to mention to you that Race just signed up for the log. I think he's still home, which I kind of forget where that is. It might actually be down in your neck of the woods. But he's a 400, 800 runner like you are. He was going to do cross, decided to stay home and decided to do the fall track stuff. So he did the fall track stuff remotely, like you did cross remotely. But eventually, hopefully he'll be in person and you guys will be able to get some workouts together in. Just wanted to mention that. And I think that for you, Estella, Frida will probably be a pretty good training partner for you. She's a 5K runner also, and has run on the team in the past. She's Swedish, went back to Sweden when this whole pandemic started and was able to come back. So I think she's in Santa Barbara and around. So we'll eventually get the two of you connected, at least when February rolls around. I think pace-wise, you guys will be similar. So David and Peter, I'm not sure exactly what events you want to focus on, David. You might bounce between Alec and Race and run with Peter a little bit. And Peter, I think you're going to just have to kind of get in the mode to put the work in. And you'll probably be on your own quite a bit.
I'd be down to do the 8 a bit too. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I actually don't run people in just the same race all the time anyways. I tend to bounce people around, like the 5K. For one, isn't offered in every race. Steeplechase definitely isn't offered in every race. So if your focus was steeple, you'd probably run a 5K here and there. You'd run a 15-8 double here and there. A little bit will depend on how many meets we have as well. Same thing with the 800 focus. We might get you on a 4x4 and a 400, like a double like that sometimes. And then other times, coming in around the 800, maybe coming back for the 4x4, or maybe the 200 for a little speed work kind of thing. So I tend to bounce people around a bit.
I definitely want to get a 4x4 in, that's for sure.
And
Go for it, so
sometimes
fun.
if we have the bodies, I have been known to do a distance runners 4x4 as well. It's fun, and I like it when it fits in the schedule. It's good to come back and run a hard 400 when you're tired from doing another event or two. So good, that develops that skill of being able to finish fast. So as far as workouts, so far they've, for most of you, the focus should probably be first and foremost consistency and volume, possibly getting some drills and strides in again. Definitely getting the pre-run routine going again before you run if you haven't been doing that. AIS afterwards every day, and core and hips 2 to 3 times a week. If you're doing workouts, then they should they best fit on the harder days. And when we get back, we'll start doing hurdle stuff as well. If time fits, we're kind of limited to our 2-hour block, so we may need to be creative to make sure we get stuff done in that 2 to 4 block. And with that, that's what I had to talk about, unless there are questions.
Once March comes around, if obviously if things change, will the morning practice also be 2 hours only, or no?
No, so once we move into, so right now we're in a class that has kind of a limited time range based on that 1 unit or whatever it is. And that's why we're sort of stuck in that. When we move into the season class, the time that we're allowed is much, much greater. And so we'll be going 5 days a week. And that's where like morning practice will probably be like 6 to 8:30 kind of thing. And some of those Friday days when if we don't have a meet, we travel to like a different location, like something like Romero. Sometimes those days are pushing more like 3 hours with travel and everything else. So yeah, we'll go longer on those days. And I don't know if track, my guess, if I had to take a guess, if track doesn't happen, we probably won't go 5 days a week, but I don't know that for sure. I actually don't know exactly when that class starts. You guys may know because you're signed up for it. You can look at the roster. I don't have access to that yet.
I think Coach Willis said after spring break. I can look.
Oh, he did. I do remember him saying that. So that would make sense. All right. Well, thank you guys for your extra time. Also, just thank you for your efforts and your commitment. Obviously, we've lost a few from the fall, variety of reasons. But mostly, I think what it comes down to is just kind of not being able to hack the unknown and not wanting to write your story from the focus of power and control. So good job for you guys to stick with it and keep moving forward. So we'll make the most of this. I can assure you that. Okay. I don't know for sure if we're meeting on Thursday. I don't think we're meeting Thursday this week for Zoom. Do either of you know as part of the track class? I'm sure he'll send an announcement if we are, but I don't think so. So probably I'll see you next Tuesday. And if there is a Zoom on Thursday, then I'll see you then. Let me know if you have any questions or need anything. I'm here to help.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.